Truth is making a comeback. America's Top Stories with Lisa K. Donner.
Preparations are underway for the big summit between Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Trump. The two leaders begin with a one-on-one meeting, and in many ways it's a similar start to the Singapore summit Trump had last month with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. What will happen, and what can we expect to come out of this? Liberty Nation's Andrew Moran joins us now for analysis about this historic meeting. Andrew, why do you think the left and the media are so sour on this meeting?
Well, what aren't they outraged about? They're always upset about something. But I find it remarkable that the left, the neocons, the media, they detest President Trump so much that they want him to fail for his pursuit for peaceful relations with Russia. I mean, how long has the world wanted to see that happen? Two, massive forces having, peace. I was watching Bill Maher, I think it was last week, he was interviewing Ben Shapiro, and he seemed outraged that many Republicans and Trump were willing to engage in a peaceful pursuit with Vladimir Putin. Why is this a bad thing? I remember that it was over the last year, and also when I appeared on Russia Today, I've been writing on Liberty Nation about the alliance between the left and the neocons and the media, and how it's actually quite dangerous for the world. I mean, of course, they have their own reasons to oppose Trump on Russia. The left just wants to oppose Russia on everything and they just want to bomb Russia because they lost the election. They feel that Moscow was the cause for their demise. The neocons don't like Putin because Putin, he's not bowing down to U.S. interests. And if you remember, he opposes NATO on many fronts. The Western press, they keep saying that Russia is the aggressor, but if you look at all the troops on the border, they're the ones who are invading the Russian border. And the media, of course, they like conflict. During last year's bombing of Syria, the whole bunch of press, Fareed Zakaria and Brian Williams and Paul Begala, they said that this was the moment that President Trump became finally president of the United States. So these parties have their own reasons to join together, but the alliance isn't good for peace in the world. Since Trump, of course, Trump isn't a non-interventionist like Ron Paul, but he's still a better fit than his predecessors when it comes to foreign policy. Foreign policy has been a disaster for the last 16 years. And Trump, he's made mistakes from my point of view, but, overall, he's done a much better job than Barack Obama and George W. Bush.
All right. Now, you're right. The left has their own agenda, but don't you think relations can and will be improved between the U.S. and Russia after the Helsinki meeting?
I think President Trump, he will personally try to improve relations with Vladimir Putin, and perhaps Vladimir Putin is open to the same thing. But it won't be. But the problem is with the legislation in Washington and the interests in Washington. Over on LibertyNation.com, I reported on the National Defense Authorization Act legislation that passed in the House and Senate. And what's inside the bill is actually quite frightening. That will only sour relations and intensify potential conflict with Russia. Some of them include, applying new sanctions. They want to ban military cooperation with with Moscow, excuse me. They want to send $250 million to Ukraine to help fund its military defense systems against Russia. They want to send $6.3 billion to boost the number of troops in Europe to deter Russian aggression. And they also want to bolster not only funding, but actual military relationships in Europe to counter Russian aggression. So Trump, he has good intentions, but those good intentions are destroyed by the neoconservatives in his own administration and the many people in Washington, the military-industrial complex, the Democrats, and the never-Trumper Republicans who just want to see Trump fail in Russia. Trump, good for him if he wants to have an open dialogue with Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, but those behind him are the ones who could serve as a deterrent to any peace that Trump wants to accomplish.
All right. Thank you very much. Andrew Moran from LibertyNation.com reporting to us from Toronto. Join us again next week for Truth is Making a Comeback, America's Top Stories. I'm Lisa K. Donner. Thanks so much for watching.
Click like and subscribe and visit LibertyNation.com today.